We'll get things started today with a grounding meditation. So, coming into a comfortable seat, sitting up in a chair or on a cushion with some energy coming up the spine. Feel free, especially at the beginning of practice, to take any movements to help your body to settle into your meditation seat. Then bring your attention to your body, making contact with what you're sitting on. Just allowing your breath to breathe itself in and out your nose, and starting to include your breath in your awareness, feeling the body sitting, the body making contact with what you're sitting on, any sensations in the body from the position that you're sitting in, maybe tightness or tension in the back, maybe openness in the front body, noticing how your hands feel. How do you know that you have hands if you're not moving them or looking at them? Trying to feel the hands from the inside out. And feeling the body breathing. Feeling the rhythmic movement of the body as it breathes. And as we settle more and more into the body and become more aware of each breath, bring a sense of ease to the physical body, in the face and the jaw, maybe finding a little more space in the shoulders, feeling the arms hanging, relaxed. And maybe you can let go a little more in your belly to receive another breath and receiving the next breath. We're here in the body, feeling the body sitting. We're here in the body, feeling the body breathing. Trying to be with each breath as it comes in and out of the body. Maybe having some curiosity towards how your breath is flowing today, the texture of your breath, any shapes that your breath is making, the temperature or the lengths of your breath. We are in this moment with a loving presence, including our loving kindness practice in our breath and body awareness, a softness, gentleness, loving, friendly. We're sitting with a friendly presence, aware of the body and aware of the body breathing. Aware of each breath with a kind presence. Feeling the seat making contact with what you're sitting on. Feeling into your feet and what they're touching. Moving out of our meditative state. Blinking your eyes open when you're ready. And fully coming back into your space. Welcome. Today we are exploring mindfulness of emotions. This is a practice that helps us develop a wise and compassionate relationship with our emotional life. Mindfulness of emotions is a great practice to complement mindfulness of thoughts and vice versa. Thoughts, feelings or emotions, and sensations in the body are all connected and they react off one another. So, why is it important? Because our feeling states often influence our actions and perspectives. And so that gives us a flavor. So our emotions are flavoring our thoughts. So when we are feeling fear or sadness, some feelings that are more on the unpleasant side, when we are not mindful of those emotions, they will flavor the thoughts that are being produced from the mind. So we do have control of our thoughts. We may that first thought might pop in before our awareness kicks in, but we do have control of our thoughts when we're being mindful. And so when we partner that with awareness of our emotions, we tend to move through life not from reacting from those things, but moving through life in a way that is thoughtful and balanced. So there are 3 categories of emotions: pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. They're also called feeling tones. So all of our emotions fall into one of those 3 categories. And what we have been conditioned to do, or what our habit is to do, that most of us do without even realizing it, is we are accepting of those that fall in the pleasant category. We are not accepting of those that fall in the unpleasant category. And for many of us, we are not even aware or basically sleep through the neutral category. So what tends to happen then is, or what our habit, again, what most of us often do most of the time, is we want the pleasant emotions to continue, or we're satisfied with those. We don't want them to go away. We want more and more of that. In other words, grasping. We grasp those and we want to hold on to those. most of us, most of the time, do not want the unpleasant emotions to continue. We might even try to fix whatever is creating those unpleasant emotions. So we are rejecting them or pushing them away. And the third category, the neutral feeling tone, right now in this society, what most of us, most of the time, do is distract ourselves, entertain ourselves with something else. And most of the time, that's from a screen, from a device. So what we would call that is being in a trance, sleeping through it, not literally. I'm just unaware or not mindful of that, and um, doing something else instead of being in that neutral emotion. Some examples. Pleasant would be happiness, joy. Unpleasant, some examples are angry, jealous, sadness. Neutral might be bored, distracted, numb. So the intention of this practice, this mindfulness of emotions, is to grow our awareness of the emotions that arise, regardless of which category they are. And when we do that, we expand our capacity to hold all three of those categories, and to recognize the attitude with which we meet these emotions. So, are we greeting them with self-judgment or with kindness and compassion? So, this is why we have already done some training in the loving kindness practices. Is we might need some loving kindness skills to move skillfully through our awareness of emotions. By practicing mindfulness of emotions, we create the space to respond skillfully rather than react out of habit. Over time, this helps us move through life's challenges with greater balance and resilience. Mindfulness allows us to witness emotions without being consumed by them. So we will be learning to recognize emotions as they arise. So when they arise and what type of emotion they are, and learning not to identify with them or to identify as them. For example, I can feel anger and I am not an angry person. I can feel anxiety and I am not an anxious person. The emotion that I'm feeling right now, I am labeling it as anxiety, but I am not identifying as an anxious person. That is just the emotion that I am experiencing right now. So, as we grow our skill around being mindful of the emotions as they arise, and we practice with patience and compassion and loving kindness, and allowing those emotions to be what they are and not treating one of those categories any differently than, let's say, the pleasant, right? We're allowing and we're accepting them to be as they are, and not identifying with those emotions. This shows us the impermanence of emotions, that we have a river of emotions throughout our life, throughout our day, minute by minute, just like we have a river of thoughts that pass through the mind. So when we again, when we improve our skill around mindfulness of emotions, we are growing our window of tolerance to our emotional life. So, how do we do this? The first step is to recognize that there's an emotion present. So, like we talked about earlier, emotions, thoughts, and sensations in the body are all connected. And so when we have an emotion, we're going to be able to recognize that in either the body, feeling the emotion in the body. For example, when I feel anxious and nervous, I feel it in my stomach almost every time. We also can identify that there is an emotion by a thought that enters the mind. So we may see something that's scary, and we've got a thought that we're in danger. So the thought could be the indicator of an emotion. So we're all different. Some of us, and it can vary. Some of us might recognize emotions by a thought, and some of us might recognize emotion by feeling it in the body. I found that because I was dissociated with my physical body, that it was very hard for me to feel emotions in my body. So I recognized emotions from thought patterns. And um, that is also what we are doing here. So in the previous class, we worked on awareness of thoughts, and that practice helps us to identify habits of the thinking mind. Awareness of emotions helps us to recognize our patterns in our emotional body. And when we learn our patterns, it is us better understanding how we are conditioned, how we move through our life, and it just gives us more control over not reacting from situations in life. Um, we talked about the pleasant and unpleasant and neutral categories, and that most of the time we want that pleasant category, right? We want to be happy, we want to be healthy. And that is not the reality of human life. Humans suffer in many different ways. So there are going to be challenges and difficulties in our human life. It is part of being human. It is not that we are doing something wrong. That is just how it is, right? So these practices just help us to move through our human life in a way that is more skillful. We move through life with more wisdom and more clarity. That emotions are not good and bad. So we've got pleasant and unpleasant and neutral, but pleasant and unpleasant are not good and bad. So again, we're not trying to have more of the pleasant and have less of the bad or less of the unpleasant. We are trying to be present for the emotions that we are experiencing and have mindful responses to those emotions. So we're not trying to change unpleasant feelings into pleasant feelings. We are trying to be aware when we have unpleasant feelings and when we have pleasant feelings and when we have neutral feelings. And here I'm interchanging feelings and emotions. We could get into that more, but for this class, for this discussion, For this practice, I'm interchanging emotions and feelings. So part of this awareness, part of our practice, whether it be in our formal practice when we're seated in meditation, or whether it be in our informal practice when we're being mindful throughout our life, this gives us the opportunity to see the fleetingness of emotions, to see actually how long an emotion lasts, what happens to the emotion when we really look at it and shine our light of awareness on it. Does it get stronger? Does it dissolve? And so again, this is showing us the impermanence of emotions. It is showing us that, again, the emotions are arising and passing on. They come up and then they go away. When we are being mindful, when we are not being mindful, they might arise and trigger a thought. And if our one of our patterns of thoughts is rumination, almost all of us have, storytelling mind. Then our mind starts to tell a story about the emotions. Storytelling mind is like a fuel into that emotion. It's feeding that emotional state so that it continues. So again, we are not trying to get rid of emotions, and we're not trying to have expected emotions like calm and peace. With mindful, loving awareness, we can receive and honor and steady ourselves, steady our hearts and our minds, and know our feelings, value them, and use them as intelligence. Intelligence to better know ourselves, to better know our heart, to guide us, and not be overwhelmed by them. I want to read you a list of some feelings just to give you some examples of really just how many feelings that there are. Guarded, generous, gentle, giddy, glad, gloomy, good, gratified, greedy, guilty, excited, exhausted, dull, courageous, bold, bored, bossy, brave. You get the idea, right? Preparing to do our first awareness of emotions practice. So just a few pieces of information before we get started. So we are going to sit in our comfortable meditative position, closing down our eyes if we're comfortable. And I'm going to direct you into how the body's feeling, the body's sitting, and any other sensations in the body. And then I'm going to direct you to your breath and give you the opportunity to follow your breath and to open up your awareness more to your breath coming in and out of your body and your body breathing. And those two things are the anchors that we're going to practice awareness of emotions from. So we're going to sit with the body and with the breath and open up our awareness to emotions as they arise. When an emotion arises, you'll acknowledge that emotion. And it could be a basic emotion. Say to yourself, there's an emotion. You could also label the emotion that you're feeling. So we don't want to get caught up in that label. So if it takes too much effort, if it is distracting to find a label for the emotion, then again, you can just label it emotion and continue on with feeling the body and the breath. Coming into your meditation seat now. Sitting upright. Our effort here is in our energy to be alert, and we can bring a sense of ease to the physical body. We're sitting, we feel the body sitting on the chair, the cushion, noticing the sensations, the pressure of the body making contact with what you're sitting on. Feeling the parts of your body that are making contact with the floor. And just letting the breath breathe itself here in and out your nose. Just allowing the natural rhythm of your breath to bring the air in and out of your body. Just starting to feel the body breathing here. So that could be feeling the air passing through the nostrils, up and down the throat. Or you could feel the chest and belly rising and falling as they move with the breath. Sense your body sitting here and aware that you're breathing. Now turning your attention to notice whatever feelings might be present. There might be calm or ease or frustration or sadness. There could be loneliness, delight. Stay connected with the body, softening, allowing the feelings to be known and receiving them with awareness and kindness. And sometimes it's hard to know feelings. And sometimes there's not much happening and it's quiet, and you can notice that too. Here we're becoming curious. We're interested. Perhaps we're interested in the quiet. You'll notice there's a feeling behind that too. It might be disconnected or emptiness or numbness. And as we sit, opening up to the feelings that are present, just inviting them to come forward, to be received with compassion and kind attention. And now we'll expand this capacity to be present for feelings. Let yourself remember a pleasant situation that happened this past week or very recently. Some circumstance where you felt pleasure or happiness or ease, and just let that memory arise. And feel that flood of feelings that may come with it. Can you feel it in your body, your mind, your heart? There might be a smile, sense of joy or appreciation or even well-being. Just notice how mindfulness can receive and acknowledge them all. So now we're going to go the other direction. With that same balance and kind attention, let yourself remember a difficult situation recently, last week, or recently, not the worst one, not a traumatic one, but the one that was at least a bit difficult. And as you remember this situation, bringing a picture into your mind's eye, notice again the wash of feelings that fill the body and the mind and the heart. Maybe there's tension or frustration or anger, anxiety or sadness. Whatever feelings that might be there, just notice them and see how they feel. And notice how the space of mindful awareness and kindness or compassion can allow all of these to arise and move through the body and the mind and the heart. And here you remain, seated, centered, and balanced. And in this practice, if you ever find or touch on an emotion that is too difficult to be with, drop it as best you can and come back to the breath, come back to the body sitting. And as we start to move from this space, this practice, come back to the body breathing, come back to the body sitting. Feel your calming breath. Notice your steady attention. Opening your eyes when you're ready, coming back fully into your space. So one thing that we can explore that is around this practice is what feelings or emotions do we consider acceptable, and what feelings and emotions do we consider unacceptable? Also, another thing that we can reflect on is, what is your family history with emotions? What was allowed or wasn't allowed? So a lot of our reactions now to our emotions are conditions. We have been conditioned to react that way based on the environment that we were raised in. That's just um, more areas that we can explore to, again, better understand how we are moving through life, how we react to emotions, and start to better understand our patterns. With mindful, loving awareness, we can recognize emotions as they arise and name them or identify them. We can steady ourselves in moments of strong emotions rather than being overwhelmed. And we value emotions as a source of inner wisdom, using them as signals rather than obstacles. And as we practice awareness of emotions more and more, as we build our skill here, we're also seeing how emotions are changing. So we can think of emotions as the weather, and the weather is constantly changing, and that is the same with our emotional body. It is constantly in change. It is impermanent. that can be a helpful thing to remember when we're in the middle of a very difficult emotion. A quick reminder of, this will pass. I am in this right now, and it feels this way right now, and it's intense like this right now, and it is going to change. The emotion is going to change. The intensity is going to change, and I will have another emotion very soon. So we'll take another practice here. Again, what we're doing is we are sitting with mindfulness of the body and mindfulness of the breath, and we're opening up our awareness to emotions as they arise in our awareness. And we can also see what next thing happens after we identify an emotion has started. Is there a thought that follows it? Can we feel it in our body anywhere? And remembering that if we touch an emotion that is bigger than appropriate for this practice, we let it go as best we can and come back to the body, back to the breath, coming back into the present moment and concentrating on the breath until that too strong emotion has moved on. All right. So coming back into that meditative seat, sitting upright but not uptight, settling in, closing down the eyes whenever you're ready. You're welcome to take a few deep cleansing breaths, inhaling through the nose and exhaling out the mouth. And settling into a breath that is natural and easy, flowing in and out your nose. And as you make this transition into a more inward state, just notice if there are areas of tightness or tension in the body that maybe you could bring more ease to, find more space in. Again, letting the breath settle into its natural rhythm. We have a kind and gentle awareness that the body is sitting, feeling the body sitting on the chair or the cushion, feeling the body and where it is making contact with the floor. Feeling in your nostrils the coolness of your inhales and the warmth of your exhales. And when you're ready, start to become more mindful of any emotions that call your attention. Bringing the same loving awareness to them as you do with your breath. When the emotion rises, letting go of the breath and receiving the emotion kindly. Maybe even naming it softly, sad or joy, excited or bored, anxious or calm. And as an emotion arises, just notice if you can feel it in your body. Notice if it moves around the different locations in your body. Notice if it triggers a thought. And notice how it responds to this kind awareness. Does it dissolve or get stronger? Maybe it changes into another emotion. Just notice that too. You are the space of loving awareness that can kindly notice emotions as they come and go. What do you notice in your experience? Remembering, whatever you are feeling is just a feeling. Here, our practice is becoming present for the feelings and noticing and sensing what are around the feelings. And you can also label the feeling or emotion as pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. And if you feel resistance to an emotion that has come up, if it feels too intense, come back to the breath. If you feel a resistance to contacting an emotion that comes up that is strong and you can be with it, notice the story that the mind tells along with the feelings in your body. And then just acknowledge it kindly. Let it roll to the background. Here we have a gentle presence to the emotion. It is part of our experience. We are sitting, we are breathing, and we're aware of emotions as they arise. This is all part of the experience. Just noticing what is in your current experience. Here we see that we are the calm, steady witness to our emotions, and that we are able to acknowledge them without getting caught by them. When the emotion passes by and is gone, come back to the breath. Noticing how short-lived an emotion is. Coming back to the body breathing. Coming back to the body sitting. Coming back into your space fully and opening your eyes whenever you're ready. Thank you for your practice. Please let me know what questions you have around this topic, mindfulness of emotions. Thank you so much.